The sky turned dark over every major city on Earth. At first, people thought it was a strange storm. Then they saw the shapes, millions of lights moving in perfect lines stretching across the horizon. The aliens had come. Their fleet was enormous. 9,900 ships, sleek and silver, hovered silently above the planet. Each one was bigger than anything humans had ever built. Governments around the world panicked. Military leaders stared at their screens, unsure how to even begin defending against such a force. On the streets, people ran in fear. Sirens screamed, phones rang endlessly, and chaos spread. But in hidden bunkers, in military hangars, and even in small garages, humans were quietly preparing. Scientists and engineers worked with whatever tools they could find. Teenagers with drones, hobbyists with computers, and retired pilots with years of experience all joined in. They had no chance in a straight fight, but humans had a different weapon: creativity and courage. The alien commanders looked down on Earth with arrogance. They had destroyed dozens of civilizations across the galaxy. Every planet they invaded fell quickly. They expected the same here. "Humans are weak," one commander said, its voice cold and mechanical. "They will fall in hours." But the humans watched, studied, and waited. They knew the aliens had strength, but humans had something the aliens could not predict. In a small control room, Lieutenant Mara stared at the radar. She was only 23, but she had been flying simulations for years. Her hands moved quickly over the controls. "We can't fight them head-on," she said to her team. "We have to make them fight on our terms." Around her, engineers nodded. Drones were being programmed, satellites prepped, and even old fighter jets were modified to carry strange homemade weapons. Every human had a role. Outside, the aliens descended. Their ships blocked out the sun. Cities trembled under their presence. People on the streets dropped to their knees, thinking the end had come. Giant laser cannons fired from the ships, melting buildings and creating huge clouds of smoke. But the humans were ready. Underground bunkers had already moved civilians to safety. Hidden turrets, powered by makeshift energy sources, began targeting small alien craft that flew too close. The humans were not strong, but they were clever. In space, the alien fleet moved in perfect formation. They fired their main weapons, expecting to destroy everything in sight. But their attacks hit empty skies, or were deflected by human countermeasures. Satellites that had been silent for decades suddenly came alive, releasing electromagnetic pulses that scrambled alien navigation. Small drones swarmed the bigger ships, slipping through armor cracks and causing explosions. Each loss confused the aliens more. They were used to planets surrendering quickly, not fighting back with such unpredictable tactics. On the ground, Lieutenant Mara watched a massive alien ship hover over her city. Her squadron of old fighter jets, armed with experimental weapons, took off. The jets were slower, smaller, and weak compared to the alien ship, but Mara had a plan. She flew in tight circles around the alien vessel, dodging its beams while her squad launched small missiles that hit weak points on its hull. The alien crew shouted in surprise. How are they doing this? They wondered. The humans were not following the rules the aliens expected. Even ordinary people were helping. Civilians used trucks, cranes, and even homemade gliders to distract alien patrols. Engineers hacked into alien communication signals, causing confusion. Teenagers and drones made sudden attacks from impossible angles. Everywhere the aliens looked, they found humans acting in ways no one had predicted. The sheer chaos of human resistance was itself a weapon. As night fell, the first real victories began. Small alien ships exploded or retreated. Human cheers could be heard from hidden cities. Lieutenant Mara looked at the sky, still full of enemy ships, but her eyes shone with determination. "They think they can scare us," she said softly. "They have no idea what humans can do." The aliens were massive, strong, and armed with weapons beyond imagination. But the humans had something no alien could calculate: heart, cleverness, and a will to survive. The first day of the invasion ended with more fear than triumph, but also a spark of hope. Humans had faced the impossible and refused to bow. The alien commanders, confident in victory, had no idea that Earth was already planning the first moves of a counterattack that could change everything. And as the stars reflected off the sleek alien hulls, one thing was clear: humanity had not come to die quietly. They were ready to fight. The next morning, the alien fleet moved closer. Thousands of ships hovered above Earth, ready to strike. The humans were ready too, though they were outnumbered and outgunned. Across the globe, soldiers, pilots, and civilians waited quietly. They had learned from the first day that fear could not defeat them. Only action could. The aliens fired first. Giant beams of energy cut through the clouds, hitting cities, forests, and mountains. Buildings crumbled instantly. Human soldiers ducked behind rubble, civilians ran for cover, and alarms blared everywhere. The alien commanders smiled, sure this would be the end. But the humans had learned something about their enemy. They were strong but predictable. In the skies over New York, Lieutenant Mara led a squadron of jets. They were small, old, and far weaker than the alien ships. But Mara had a plan. She dove between skyscrapers, using the city as cover. The alien pilots struggled to follow. Mara's squad launched missiles from hidden angles, hitting engines and weapons systems. Several alien ships exploded in fireballs that lit the morning sky. People below watched in awe as the impossible happened. Far away in rural China, a group of engineers had built electromagnetic pulse cannons from old satellites and scrap metal. When they activated them, dozens of alien ships lost control. They spun in the air, crashed into mountains, and tumbled into rivers. The aliens were not used to this. They had always relied on their overwhelming power, but humans were using clever tricks that no army had ever tried before. In the deserts of Africa, drones swarmed alien fighters. They were small, cheap, and fast. They zipped between the giant ships, scratching at hulls, causing explosions in weak spots, and confusing the alien sensors. Teenagers controlled some of these drones, laughing and shouting as they dodged alien fire. The aliens were shocked. How could humans so weak and small be so dangerous? Even in space, humans found ways to fight. Satellites that had been inactive for years released small attack pods. The pods collided with alien ships, damaging shields and causing chaos. Communications were jammed, sensors failed, and the aliens realized that humans were not following normal rules of war. Every human action seemed random, but it worked perfectly together. In Europe, a massive alien ship tried to crush London. It fired beams of heat that melted streets and buildings. But humans had prepared traps. Underground bunkers triggered massive explosions, sending shockwaves up to the ship. Mara's squadron dove from the clouds, firing missiles into weakened sections. The ship wobbled, sparks flew, and it finally plummeted into the river. People on the ground cheered, some crying, some laughing. Humans had won the first real victory. Across the world, the first clash continued. Human ingenuity was everywhere. Improvised weapons, clever maneuvers, and teamwork. Even small villages found ways to fight. A group of farmers used trucks to block alien patrols, creating traps that destroyed several ships. Engineers hacked alien signals, turning their own weapons against them. The aliens had never seen anything like this. They expected surrender, not resistance. The alien commanders grew frustrated. They shouted at each other through strange devices, but no plan worked. Every time they destroyed a city, humans had already moved civilians and repaired defenses. Every attack they planned had a counterattack ready. For the first time in their history, they faced an enemy that did not fear them. They were not used to unpredictability, and humans had it in abundance. Lieutenant Mara returned to base after hours of fighting. Her jet was scratched and smoking, but she smiled. She looked at the horizon and saw dozens of alien ships retreating, some damaged, some destroyed. Humans were exhausted but alive. She knew the battle was far from over, but the first clash had proven something important. Humans could fight back and they could win. Even the civilians who had hidden during the attack felt a spark of hope. Children clung to their parents, watching the skies, dreaming of victory. Soldiers, pilots, and engineers shared stories of bravery and clever tricks. From the tallest skyscrapers to the smallest villages, humanity had shown its first true resistance. That night, the alien fleet regrouped in orbit. Only then did their commanders realize how dangerous humans could be. They had underestimated creativity, courage, and determination. The humans had no chance in a straight fight, but they had turned the battlefield into their own advantage. On Earth, people celebrated quietly. Not all of them had weapons, not all of them had fought, but all of them had survived. The first clash had changed something in the human spirit. They had faced the impossible and refused to bow. And Lieutenant Mara, looking up at the remaining ships, knew that this was only the beginning. The real fight, the fight that would decide the fate of Earth, was coming, and humanity was ready. The morning after the first clash, Earth was quiet, but humans were far from resting. The alien fleet had suffered losses, but thousands of ships still hovered above the planet, bristling with weapons. The aliens believed they had nearly crushed humanity, yet they didn't understand that humans could learn fast. Every loss had taught humans something new, and now they were ready to adapt. In a hidden lab in Germany, engineers worked on new weapons. They studied the alien ships carefully, learning where the hulls were weakest and how their energy beams could be blocked. Scientists modified old satellites, turning them into flying bombs that could strike from space. In the deserts of Nevada, pilots trained in complex aerial maneuvers that no alien could predict. Every corner of the planet was alive with preparation. Humans had no choice, they had to outthink the enemy. Lieutenant Mara gathered her squad. She pointed to a holographic map showing alien movements. "They are stronger than us, faster than us, but they are predictable," she said. "We know where they will strike next. We need to hit them where they think they are safe." Her squad nodded. They had already started to understand a truth the aliens had never faced. Humans didn't fight like other species. Humans adapted. Humans used brains as much as brawn. In the skies over Tokyo, a squadron of human jets led the aliens into a trap. The humans pretended to retreat, luring the alien ships into a narrow canyon. Hidden turrets fired from above and below, hitting multiple ships at once. Explosions shook the mountains as alien vessels crashed into rocks or each other. The aliens had never experienced deception like this. They were strong, but Earth was full of surprises. In the forests of Brazil, civilians had turned nature itself into a weapon. They created hidden launch points for drones and missiles. Rivers were rigged to explode with hidden charges, and trees concealed human snipers. Alien scouts flew low, searching for humans, but every path was a trap. Small teams moved quickly and vanished, leaving the aliens confused and frustrated. Every attack humans made was smarter, faster, and more unexpected than the last. Even in space, humans adapted. Engineers had built hacking drones that could slip through alien shields. These drones reached inside alien ships, shutting down weapons or redirecting lasers into other ships. Alien pilots screamed in panic as their own attacks were turned against them. They had not planned for enemies who could fight without even being seen. Human creativity became a weapon just as deadly as missiles or lasers. Lieutenant Mara herself flew missions that seemed impossible. She and her squadron would approach massive alien cruisers with tiny jets, weaving between laser beams and strike precise weak points. Every attack caused confusion, forcing the aliens to split their forces. Humans were small, weak, and fragile, but they had something the aliens could not measure: skill, courage, and adaptability. Meanwhile, ordinary people contributed in ways no one expected. Engineers in Africa built small EMP cannons that could disable alien ships temporarily. Children with drones distracted patrols, causing minor crashes that created openings for humans to attack. Farmers used tractors and trucks to block alien landing zones, forcing ships to hover helplessly as humans struck from above. Humans were everywhere, using every advantage the planet offered. The alien commanders grew frustrated. Their initial plan of overwhelming power was failing. They had expected humans to surrender after the first strike, but humans had learned quickly. They anticipated attacks, prepared countermeasures, and used Earth itself as a battlefield. The aliens realized they could not win by strength alone. Humans had a new weapon: the ability to adapt faster than anyone in the galaxy. At night, Lieutenant Mara looked at the stars. She saw thousands of alien ships blinking above Earth, but she felt hope. Humans had learned to fight smarter, not just harder. Civilians had become soldiers, scientists had become strategists, and pilots had become legends. Humanity had turned desperation into advantage. Every failed attack by the aliens became a lesson. Every mistake became an opportunity. The first week of the invasion ended with heavy losses on both sides, but humans had proven something important. They were not just survivors, they were fighters who could think, plan, and adapt faster than the enemy expected. And the aliens, for the first time, realized that Earth would not be conquered easily. From New York to Nairobi, from Moscow to Sydney, humans celebrated small victories. Each destroyed alien ship, each clever trap, was a proof that humans could fight back. Lieutenant Mara prepared her squad for the next mission. "They are strong," she said quietly, "but they are not ready for us. Let's show them what Earth can do." The aliens had underestimated humanity, and that mistake would cost them dearly. Earth had changed. Humans were no longer just defenders, they had become predators in their own right, ready to turn every weakness into a weapon. The aliens had thought they would conquer a weak species, but they were facing something they had never encountered before. And humans were only getting started. The alien fleet had been in Earth's orbit for weeks. Thousands of ships remained, but their confidence was gone. Every attack they launched had been met with clever traps, unexpected counterattacks, and human ingenuity. Their commanders had begun to whisper among themselves. These humans were unlike any species they had ever faced. They were not weak. They were dangerous. Lieutenant Mara stood on the deck of a human command ship, looking at the radar. "They are desperate," she said. "And desperate enemies make mistakes." Around her, engineers and pilots worked tirelessly. Satellites were being repositioned, drones armed, and every city had hidden defenses ready. Humans had learned to think like the aliens, but faster, smarter, and more creatively. The aliens decided to make one final push. Their target was Earth's orbital defense stations, the very heart of human resistance. If they destroyed them, the planet would be defenseless. Thousands of ships surged forward in a perfect formation. Alien beams cut through space like lightning. They expected no resistance. But the humans had prepared something the aliens could not predict. The first line of defense was simple but deadly. Humans funneled the alien fleet into narrow corridors between asteroids. The aliens, trusting their technology, followed blindly. Suddenly, electromagnetic traps activated. Alien ships lost guidance systems and collided with rocks or each other. Smaller human drones swarmed them, hitting engines and weapon systems. Explosions lit the darkness of space, and panic spread through the alien ranks. Lieutenant Mara led her squadron into the heart of the battle. Her jets were small compared to the massive alien cruisers, but speed and precision were their allies. She weaved through enemy fire, striking weak points with missiles she had aimed carefully for weeks. A single hit caused an alien ship to spin uncontrollably before exploding into a fireball. Mara grinned. Humans had found the turning point and they were exploiting it fully. On Earth's surface, hidden launch stations fired new weapons. Missiles disguised as debris struck alien ships unexpectedly. Drones released hacking devices that disabled shields, leaving cruisers vulnerable to follow-up attacks. Even civilians played a role. Farmers, mechanics, and engineers all controlled drones, guided missiles, or triggered explosives. Humans were everywhere at once, using the planet itself as a weapon. The alien commanders screamed orders, but no plan worked. Their fleet had been strong, precise, and overwhelming. Now it was falling apart. For every 100 ships they had sent to crush humanity, dozens were destroyed and the survivors were scattered and confused. Alien pilots had never experienced such organized chaos. Humans were unpredictable, relentless, and adaptive. In space, Mara spotted a massive alien battleship trying to escape the corridor. She and her team circled it, dodging lasers and striking again and again. Sparks flew from the alien hull as it shuddered under every hit. The ship tried to retreat, but human drones and missiles blocked every path. Finally, with a massive explosion, it was gone. Mara's squad cheered. This was the moment the tide had truly turned. The remaining alien ships tried to regroup. They were fewer now, scattered and vulnerable. Humans, having studied every weakness, attacked with precision. They targeted engines, weapons, and command centers first. Each strike caused chaos in the alien ranks. Ships collided, spun, or fell helplessly toward Earth. What had once been a mighty armada was now a skeleton fleet, barely holding together. On Earth, civilians watched the sky. Every explosion felt like a victory. Soldiers and pilots shared stories of clever tricks, daring attacks, and narrow escapes. Across continents, people realized something powerful. Humans were not just defending their planet, they were winning. For the first time, the impossible felt real. Humanity had turned desperation into triumph. By nightfall, only a handful of alien ships remained. 9,900 had come to conquer Earth. Only 17 survived. The humans had fought with everything they had: brains, courage, and creativity. They had turned every weakness into strength and every challenge into opportunity. Lieutenant Mara looked at the stars, proud and exhausted. They thought they could crush us, she said. They were wrong. Humanity will never bow. The surviving aliens fled into deep space, leaving Earth behind. Their commanders were shaken. They had underestimated the humans and now their fleet was destroyed. Every human, from soldier to civilian, had contributed to this victory. Earth had survived not because of power, but because of ingenuity, determination, and unity. That night, across the planet, humans celebrated quietly but proudly. They had faced an enemy far stronger and survived. The turning point had come, and the world had changed forever. Humanity had shown that no force, no matter how great, could ignore the courage, creativity, and will of Earth's defenders. The war was not over, but one truth had been proven: humans could adapt and humans could win. The alien ships that had survived the battle disappeared into the black of space. Only 17 of the 9,900 ships returned, damaged and beaten. Their commanders were silent, stunned, and confused. They had never imagined a species so weak in appearance could fight with such strength, courage, and intelligence. Earth had survived, and humanity had proven that it could not be ignored. On the ground, people stepped outside their shelters, blinking at the sky. Cities were damaged, but the spirit of the people was alive and strong. Children laughed, parents hugged, and strangers shook hands. Soldiers, pilots, engineers, and civilians, everyone who had fought in some way, felt a deep pride. They had faced the impossible together and they had won. Humanity had survived not because it was the strongest species in the galaxy, but because it was clever, brave, and united. Lieutenant Mara walked through the streets of her city, seeing the ruins of battle and the faces of the people she had protected. She felt a strange mix of exhaustion and pride. "We did it," she whispered to herself. "We survived, and we showed them who we are." Around her, volunteers and citizens worked to rebuild what was destroyed. Even in the face of fear, humans were resilient. They had learned that survival required more than just strength. It required determination, intelligence, and the courage to act together. Across the globe, leaders sent messages to every corner of the world. The story was the same everywhere. Humanity had fought back against impossible odds and had survived. Scientists explained how humans had used creativity to overcome the aliens' overwhelming strength. Pilots told stories of daring maneuvers that had destroyed massive ships. Civilians spoke of bravery in hiding and clever ways they had contributed to the fight. Earth had become a place of heroes, not just soldiers. The alien commanders, floating in the void of space, could only watch. They had sent a nearly unstoppable armada, confident in victory, and yet their fleet was shattered. They realized something they had never known before. Humans were unpredictable, clever, and relentless. Even the strongest weapon could fail against a species that refused to surrender. For the first time in their history, aliens feared humans, not just for what they could do but for what they might do next. Mara returned to her command center to oversee recovery efforts and plan for the future. Even though the aliens had retreated, she knew humanity could not let its guard down. They had won the battle, but the galaxy was still full of threats. Her team worked to repair damaged satellites, rebuild communication networks, and strengthen defenses. Every small action reminded them that survival was not a gift, it was earned. And humans had earned it today with courage, wit, and unity. As night fell, the stars shone brightly above Earth. The 17 surviving alien ships were far away, a reminder of what could have been, but also proof of humanity's triumph. Mara looked up at the sky, thinking of every pilot, every engineer, every civilian who had played a part. "They will never forget us," she said quietly. "And neither will we forget ourselves." Humans had shown the galaxy that they were not weak, not helpless, and not to be underestimated. Stories of the battle spread quickly. Children listened with wide eyes as elders recounted how humans had tricked, fought, and outsmarted a fleet thousands of times larger than themselves. Soldiers shared tales of bravery, but also of teamwork and clever thinking. Every story carried a lesson. Survival came not from strength alone, but from intelligence, adaptability, and courage. Humanity had earned respect, and the galaxy would learn to remember their name. Even the aliens left behind marks of respect. They communicated carefully, avoiding Earth's defenses, and began to study humanity from afar. They had underestimated this species and now they knew it was a mistake. The humans had earned their place as a power that could not be ignored. Across the universe, stories would be told of the planet that had survived against impossible odds. Earth had become a symbol, a warning that humans were not to be taken lightly. On Earth, life slowly returned to normal. Cities were rebuilt, technology repaired, and communities came together. But nothing would ever be the same. Humans had seen the universe, faced overwhelming odds, and survived. They had proven their resilience, creativity, and bravery. And deep in their hearts, people knew one truth: humanity was strong not just in body but in spirit. They had earned respect, from each other, from the aliens, and from the universe itself. Lieutenant Mara watched children playing under the rebuilt streets, smiling despite the scars of battle. She knew the world had changed forever. Humanity had not only survived an alien invasion, they had shown the galaxy what it meant to be human. They were fighters, thinkers, and survivors. The universe had sent the strongest armada it had, and humanity had faced it with courage, wit, and heart. From this day on, no one would ever underestimate humans again.